Good morning from Pembrokeshire. I'm in my camper van. I've been here for 2 days. Purpose of my visit, well, to recharge my batteries, but also I have spent a little bit of time walking on the Pembrokeshire coast path. I think on one of my previous videos I talked about this book and how much I love walking, and I haven't really done enough walking now for quite some time. In fact, the last time I did any serious walking on the Wales coast path was in 2019, pre-pandemic. I've done a little bit on the Thames path, but yeah, the Wales coast path has sort of been abandoned by me. And so these last 2 days I have really enjoyed getting back on the coast path. The section I did yesterday was from Tenby to Freshwater East, and I'm camping not far from Freshwater East. So I caught the bus from the village I'm camping in to Tenby and then walked back. It was about 13 miles. And a hard 13 miles for me because it was very up and down, but quite invigorating, and I feel really good for having done it. I really enjoyed it. I've left the van back doors open. I'm hoping that you can enjoy the sounds of birds and flies and all the summer sounds of the British countryside. Yeah, I've been so lucky with the weather. It's been warm but not too hot, a lovely breeze blowing off the sea, and a perfectly quiet campsite. I've been the only one here for 2 days, and I don't know what you like, if any of you go camping even. Now, I love tent camping as well. I've done that a lot in the past, and I still have my tent. And I do intend to go somewhere with just my tent this year, but I love my camper van, as you know. And the campsites I like tend to be the quieter, more rusticy ones, so this is absolutely perfect. It's a field, it's nicely mown grass, and there's water taps right by the pitches. Beautiful farmhouse, a lovely farmer just down the hill there, with an old outbuilding with a very old toilet, but it's just perfect. There's no showers here, so I've been strip washing in the van, but I love that. For a couple of days it's just nice to get back to nature, and yeah, extra bonus that I was the only one camping. But it got me thinking. I thought for today, this is going to be a softly spoken, obviously, sounds of nature in the background. I hope you find that nicely relaxing. But it got me thinking. I've been really lazy today. I woke up about 7:30. Didn't get out of my sleeping bag till 8:00. And I've had 2 mugs of coffee, and then I had a herbal tea, and I've just had my juice. Have a little walk around the village and getting ready to go because I'm leaving today. But as I was sitting drinking various drinks this morning, I was thinking about how much I've enjoyed this, and really how little you need sometimes to have a break and enjoy yourself. A holiday, and that's the theme. I'm going to talk about holidays. And I know a lot of people, maybe even some of you, this would be torture. A field in the middle of nowhere, no activities, no shop, no pub, and seemingly nothing to do. But this is how I love to unwind. And obviously I wouldn't want to stay for weeks on end. Well, maybe I would, but I can see you need facilities. But the good thing is there is an excellent bus service with buses to Tenby every hour during daylight hours. But that aside, I thought back to childhood and the sorts of holidays me and my family did. I talk quite a lot about my childhood because, I don't know, I sometimes love to reflect on my life and you know, how I am, who I am now. And I grew up in the 70s, and family holidays for us were never beach holidays. My mother doesn't really like the sea or the beach, so our family holidays were, for quite a few years, we used to go away on horse riding holidays. So we would stay on farms, a bit like this one, and we would turn up. Sometimes you'd be in really basic sort of dormitory style accommodation, but more often than not it would be a farmhouse with some rooms or in a barn. And we would also not go during summer holidays. We would go often at Easter or Whitsun, so it would be sort of April, May. So the weather was often not good. And we'd go out on these lovely horse rides on day hacks, and we'd get a guide with us, and we'd go in a group, and you'd have picnic, sausage rolls and sandwiches, and then you'd come back at the end of the day, and often it would rain. I mean, you know, British weather in April and May is not the best very often, so you'd often get absolutely soaked, and you'd be aching. I was only, you know, 8 or 9, and you'd get back to the farm at the end of the day, and somebody else would take the horses and get them ready, you know, de-saddle and de-bridle. I think maybe we would take the saddles and bridles off and brush the horses down. And anyway, you'd have a bath when you got in, and you'd all sit around the farmhouse table at the end of the day, and we'd all talk about our day's ride. And it was just a lovely, you know, basic home cooking meals we would eat. But yeah, it was just an enjoyable shared experience of the day, and a bit of a laugh about, you know, if somebody'd fallen off. Or fortunately, I don't ever remember falling off, so that's quite lucky. Not on those horse riding holidays anyway. And as I got sort of teenage years, then we would go on different style holidays. We stayed in a caravan once. It was 1976, and it was the height of the drought here in the UK. And my parents rented a caravan down, again, Carmarthenshire, or Ceredigion, I think, somewhere around Cardigan. It was the 70s, but even so, it was a very old caravan, so probably vintage from the 50s, I should think. And it was a caravan in a farmer's field again, like this. So it was the only one. There was only one caravan. And the farmers themselves went on holiday that week, but the good thing was their daughter was about my age, and the farmer said to my mother that I was welcome to borrow the bicycles. Now, I was never allowed to have a bike when I was a kid. I used to ask every Christmas, but my mother was terrified I was going to get run over because we lived on a main road. So on this farm, I was able to borrow this bike and go up and down the farm track, which did go on for quite a long period, which was quite a long track. And I would just cycle up and down, up and down, up and down, and we'd go off on day trips around the area. So the holidays I was brought up were quite basic. My first holiday abroad was, I was 13, and I remember getting very excited. I think it was booked just before sort of Christmas at some stage, and we went in February, and it was a coach tour of southern Spain, of Andalusia, beautiful part of Spain. So the four of us, me, my parents, my sister, we flew, first time flying, from Bristol Airport into Torremolinos. And Torremolinos looked a lot different then than it does now. It was still a busy resort, but it would have been, what year was this? I was 13. think it was 1980, yeah, 1980. And we got to Torremolinos, and even though it was February, the weather was warm and balmy. And we picked up the coach the next day. There was obviously a big group of us staying in this hotel. And we boarded the bus the next day. And then for the next week, we toured hundreds of miles. We went to Granada to see the Alhambra. We went to Seville, which was, I remember that being very beautiful, very impressive. And again, Seville was nice and warm. But as we went up into the mountains, it got freezing cold. And I don't think we were dressed for it. I don't think we'd expected it to be super, super cold. And yeah, all these Ronda, all these lovely little famous villages in Andalusia. But unfortunately, at some stage during the trip, I must have eaten something. And I caught a really bad stomach bug. Oh, I had the full work, high temperature, it started off, and then horrendous upset stomach. I mean, really bad. And it's not the thing you want to do when you've got an upset stomach when you're on holidays, is a coach trip. And it was many, many hours on the coach every day. And somehow I managed to hold it together for the coach journeys. But as soon as I got to the whatever hotel we were in that night, it was, yeah, I won't go into details. It was really bad. So it kind of spoilt our holiday a little bit, because it certainly spoilt my parents' holiday, the fact that I had this stomach bug. My sister caught it as well. Yeah, that was my first experience of going abroad. And I don't think we went abroad for a long time after that. In fact, I think the last time was my sister had already moved out. I was doing my A-levels and we went to Tenerife, me, my mother and father, and that was a more relaxed holiday. But I suppose those they're fond, no matter, the dramatics with health while I was away, and they were fun times. The wet, rainy horse rides, we still had a good time. And I've done, I've had young children, and I think when you've got young children, you kind of want to have a holiday and you want to enjoy it. So I've done the caravan parks with the entertainment. I've done Butlins, and I've enjoyed them because the children are happy. You can go to the entertainment, doesn't matter if your kids are crying or running around, because everyone else is as well. And good old-fashioned British seaside resorts, there's something to love about them. Then I've done package holidays to Gran Canaria. When my son was little, my son is 34 now, we would go. We didn't have an awful lot of money, so we would take him on a package holiday to maybe a 3-star resort. And hotels the ones we went to didn't seem to cater for very young children, so they were quite hard work, because we'd have to keep an eye on my son the whole time, because there were great big steps and swimming pools, and yeah, it wasn't a relaxing holiday. And then again with my daughter, we've done the package holidays, we've done all-inclusives. As the children got older, we've done ski trips to Canada. My daughter we took to Las Vegas. We went sort of early in the year so it wasn't too hot. And some might think, Las Vegas for children? But loved it. It was, obviously we weren't gambling or doing anything like that. We just enjoyed taking her around the fantastic hotels with all the entertainment and lovely food. And oh yeah, we really enjoyed that holiday. When my son was little, we took him to Florida and we had the full experience with all the Disney and everything. There's something about all of these holidays that I've loved, from your luxury holidays in Barbados to my caravan parks. There's something to enjoy in all of them. But as I'm getting to the age I am now, my children are grown up, and I've got a little grandson, so I think I'm probably, still going to want to take him to a little caravan somewhere and enjoy some basic holidays here in the UK. The things I suppose I've got to the age where I'm appreciating simple things. It's like I'm reverting back to how I was as a child. Don't get me wrong, I love luxury and I love all those holidays, but when I was working, you look forward to that annual 2-week holiday, and there's so much preparation and excitement about going, and you get to the airport and it's like you're on a high. You get to the resort and you really throw yourself in. But I suppose in my sort of 20s, 30s, my main focus when I went on holiday, even when I had young children, my main focus was getting a suntan, because I wanted to come home and show everyone my suntan. And, fortunately, both my children liked going to the children's clubs, which were a godsend, because they'd go off and have fun, give us a couple of hours to go by the pool, lie in the sun and bake. And I didn't ever really enjoy baking in the sun. I used to find it really uncomfortable. I couldn't do it for long. Fortunately, I tan quite easily, so, I still used to come home with a suntan. But I look back and I think I was spending like 2 weeks baking myself. But we didn't do that many trips, not overly fond of the Spanish nights and all of that, but we would hire a car and go and have a little drive around. But yeah, baking myself in the sun for 2 weeks. And then, like a few days before you're due to fly home, you start looking at the notice boards in reception, and oh no, our flight, right, we need to be, the bus is picking. And then almost like half a week before you're due to fly home, you start planning the coming home, and you think, oh well, it'll be our last couple of days, so shall we? And you're almost like wasting that half a week. Well, at least this is what we did. You wasted that last half a week thinking about coming home, and oh, this is our last breakfast, oh, this is our last trip here. And then when you come home, you've got the growing depression that you're back home. Even worse, you've got to work the next day. You've got all the washing, all the putting away, and it makes you think, is it worth going on holidays, because it's such a low. I used to find it awful coming home. And I think now my days of those sorts of holidays are over, because I don't particularly want to do that now. I don't want to lie on a sunbed all day long. I love the sun, and let's face it, the British weather isn't always as kind as this. And I love going abroad, but probably a little bit more freestyle for me now and Richard. We like to go somewhere and then explore, particularly on public transport. I don't enjoy driving. In fact, even here in the UK, if I go to a campsite, I don't want to drive around in my campervan to go and visit places. I can't bear trying to find a car parking space. I find it much more relaxing to go somewhere and pick up public transport. It's a bit of an adventure. You're with the locals, and you see so much more, I think. And of course you can have a glass of wine while you're out, or a beer, and just enjoy yourself. So that's my type of holiday that I like now. It's changed so much from my younger years when it was all about the sun and the food getting cooked for you. I was never a party animal. I never did any 18 to 30 holidays. I was married at 19, so they were very much, I went from being with my parents to young children holidays. So, and I can't say I've missed it. I've never thought, oh, I wish I'd done a girls' holiday. I don't think it would ever have been my style. but I know lots do. My daughter certainly loves that kind of holiday. My son's a little bit more like me, likes the quiet, sort of scenic places. But yeah, and I think you get to a certain age and you kind of discover who you are. I think I've definitely been spending a few years thinking about who I am now, what I like and what I don't like. And not to say I wouldn't go to Las Vegas again. Richard and I have got bucket lists of, I've called them bronze, silver and gold. The bronze list is things that we're always say, oh, we should go to St Fagans, for example. It's a local folk museum near us. And we must go here. And then we forget on days when we're like, right, we've got a day, where should we go? We're like, so I've done a list. The bronze list is local trips near to home that you can easily do in a day. So like the museum goes down on it. And then a silver list, which is trips that need a little bit more time, a bit more money, a bit more planning. So that might be a trip to Lisbon, or a couple of weeks in, a couple of days in the van somewhere down West Wales, or a city break. So those go on the silver. And then we've got a gold bucket list. Now those are the things that we suspend reality. There is no, well, we won't be able to budget for that, or we won't be able to take that much time. Just everything goes on the go list. So it'll be things like, off the top of my head, yes, Las Vegas is down there, coast to coast in America, from west coast to east coast, a couple of months in the camper van travelling around Europe. And they're just, it's like a mini vision board. They're just things that like you can really, really sort of let your imagination run wild, and it's quite a fun activity. And keep them nearby to visible, so that you can, as you think of things, you'd say, I'll put it on the silver list, or I'll put it on the gold list. So I'm not saying I only like British low-key relaxing holidays. I like a whole assortment, but I know the types of holidays I don't want to do. And busy resorts in the height of summer, meal times in the restaurants, and I don't fancy that. But yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are, and if you have things that you used to do that you don't like doing anymore. I suppose it's something, as you get older, you can indulge what you like, because you might not have young children and you've got more free time, more adult time. And it's just got me thinking, as I've been sitting here looking at this incredible view behind the van. It's taken me back to the 70s, to those sorts of holidays. And I'm thinking, I still love it. I still love doing this. So I hope you're well. I know this isn't a normal ASMR video of mine, but I'm hoping the inane chatter, sounds of the fields behind me, I hope you found it relaxing. Let me know in the comments, won't you? I'd love to hear from you. And I'll be back next week. Have a good week, and I'm going to leave you with a view of the fields.